Welcome to the Educated Parent Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Leah Kliansky, and this is another one of our chats when it's just us, no guests, talking about a common parenting dilemma. And the parenting dilemma we're going to be talking about today is so relatable. And this one is what to do if your young child gets angry with you or gets upset and ends up hitting or hurting you. How are you going to handle that? Well, that's what our discussion is about today. You're listening to Educated Parent, the parenting podcast where I teach you realistic, expert parenting hacks to solve your everyday parenting problems so that you can reduce your stress, build your confidence as a parent, and raise thriving children. My name is Dr. Leah Kliansky, and I'm a licensed clinical psychologist, owner of Thriving Child Center and PCIT Experts Child Psychology Practices, and a real-life parent of 2 young children. I am the same as you. I am invested in being the best parent possible and raising thriving children. I also get overwhelmed, I make mistakes, and I forget what works. I do have 3 unique parenting advantages that you may not have: a PhD in child clinical psychology, over 15 years of clinical experience working with families, and a network of other experts that I can text for parenting advice whenever I'm lost. I'm here to bring my expertise and my expert network to you so that we can solve your everyday parenting dilemmas together. I am so glad you're here. So I do want to put a caveat right away into this episode. So this is an episode about little kids who are in the middle of their big feelings or their own curiosity hitting parents and what we should do about it. This is not about how to manage the behavior of a child that you are afraid of because they are hurting you. Do you hear the distinction there? So if you have a child who is older or is hurting you or you're feeling afraid, this is a different level of problem. We're no longer in developmentally appropriate world. We're in we need to take some active therapeutic intervention world. Well, the idea of the strategies might apply, but at that point, you're going to want to see an actual psychologist and get help. But in this case, that's not the topic at hand. Our topic is what to do if our little kids are exploring the world and hit us in the process. So let me tell you a personal story. It's always fun to start off with a personal story. So if you have never met me, you may not realize that I have very long blonde hair. And my son loves my long blonde hair, right? It's like total temptation for kids. You see long hair and you're little, what do you want to do? You guessed it. You want to pull that hair. So when he was a very young toddler, probably starting at around a year old, he got into a habit of pulling my hair, just yanking my hair. And I have to tell you, that behavior is extremely painful. And it was causing a big problem because every time I picked him up, he wanted to pull my hair. And while I can understand that urge, that curiosity fueling hitting, it was not good for us. Like I, for a while, literally did not want to pick him up because I didn't want to give him access to my hair because pulling your hair actually really, really hurts. And when he would pull my hair, even though I understood that he was very little and didn't understand the fact that it was actually painful for me, it made me feel really angry with him. Like being in pain makes you angry. And it was just not a positive place for our relationship to be. And so I had to start working with him on not doing that, right? That physical aggression towards me was not going well. And this happens with little kids. Little kids sometimes hit, push us, pull our hair, spit at us, do aggressive behaviors that later on will be a really big problem. But when they're little and they're cute, sometimes we're just not sure what to do about that. You know, some people think, well, if I tell them no, am I a bad parent? I read somewhere I'm not supposed to ever tell my children no. Some people think, oh, well, their feelings are just really big, so I just need to sit there and co-regulate and let them hit me over and over again. Spoiler alert, I'm absolutely not in favor of that strategy. We'll talk about that in a minute. Sometimes it makes people so angry that they end up screaming at their kids or sometimes even hitting them back. which probably works in terms of getting your child to stop doing something because they're afraid of you, but it's also not the approach you want to take. So that's what we're going to talk about today is what do you actually do when your young child does get physically aggressive with you? How are you going to handle that? What are safe ways of responding and limit setting? So why do kids hit us? Let's talk about that first. Where is this coming from? Well, one place it's coming from is curiosity and exploration. So one of the things about little kids is that they do not understand that their parents are human beings, right? They don't understand that if I hit you, you are a human and it will hurt and you will have feelings about it. Like they just cannot get there in their brains, especially parents. Sometimes kids will get angry with you because it was raining outside, right? That's unrealistic. The amount of power you have as a parent just doesn't make sense to little kids. They think we can do almost anything. So if they hit you, they don't realize they're causing you pain. And it might be kind of interesting to explore. So if your kid is just little and they reach out and they hit you in the face and you go, blah, then they think, oh, that was funny. Like I hit mommy in the face and she went, blah. That was a funny noise. I'm going to do that again and see what she does. So some of it's just curiosity. I'm pretty sure that the first time my son pulled my hair, it was just a sensory thing. Like he saw it dangling there. He put his fingers in it. And then it was like, oh, just pull it, see what happens. So I think that felt good probably first. And then I made a noise, right? And now it was like an interesting way that he was interacting with me, at least for him. For me, it was a painful, upsetting way for us to be interacting. So it makes sense that kids would explore their world by doing things that sometimes hurt people. So it doesn't mean that they don't like you. It can just mean that they don't understand and they're trying to figure out cause and effect. Another reason that kids can sometimes hit is that they're angry, right? They're having a big feeling. They don't feel good, right? So they're mad at you. You said no more candy. They're mad at you. You gave them the purple cup, but that's not what they really wanted, even though that's what they asked for. Maybe they're mad at you because they don't feel well and you're supposed to fix everything. So they're angry. And when we are angry, it's very human. It's biologically hardwired. We want to be aggressive. We want to hit. And so in that moment, your child might get angry and hit you as a way of expressing that anger. Maybe also as a way of seeing if you will do something different if they hit you. So that's another reason kids hit. We don't want them to hit us, but it's understandable. I find a lot of the time, if you can try to get behind why something's happening, then it does make you less angry. And if you're not so angry, then you react more with strategy and less with your own overreaction. Third reason sometimes kids hit is it's kind of curiosity mixed with limit testing. So they realize, like, I'm not supposed to hit, but what are you going to do about it? It's like this second level, like, I'm going to break the rules and see what you're going to do. That's when your kid might give you that look of like, well, what you going to do? And then they like pull back their arm and they're like, what will you do if I hit you? Is the implied threat. So that's another reason why. And again, developmentally appropriate, kids are limit testing. Kids want to see where is the boundary, which makes sense. You know, everyone kind of likes to see where's the boundary in relationships. That's a safe, understandable thing for them to want. The hitting is the problem. Do you ever feel lost as a parent of toddlers? Here you are in a stressful situation. Maybe there's screaming or tears and chaos, and you're just feeling overwhelmed by everything that's happening, and you think, I just wish there were an expert in my ear telling me what to do. I'm so out of my comfort zone. I just need someone to help me manage this situation. When you are wishing for that expert in your ear, walking you through the steps to make this better, you are wishing for parent-child interaction therapy, or PCIT, because that's exactly what we do in PCIT. We teach you strategies for connecting with your child, for setting limits, and for what to do in these difficult moments. And we coach you during those moments. So when the challenging behavior is happening, we are right there helping you figure out what to do, and then giving you tools so that you can do this later when we are not there to help. It can be extremely effective. You can schedule a matching call or schedule yourself into a therapist schedule at pcitexperts.com. I really hope you contact us there if you are feeling this level of stress, especially if you have a 2 to 8-year-old at home. So I said before that I was not in the camp of your child is overwhelmed with their emotions. Absolutely sit there and let them hit you, right? We should be working on not letting our children hit us. And I'm going to tell you why I think letting your child hit you is an extremely bad idea. I think it is bad for you as a person. I think it is bad for your relationship with your child. And I think it is actually very bad for your child. So let me explain why. So if somebody is hitting you, it's not good for you, right? We all deserve to feel safe in our bodies. So if somebody is hurting you, it's not good for you. I don't care who they are. If they're 1-year-old or 50 years old, they shouldn't be hurting you. And so it's not good for anybody to be in a relationship with someone that is hurting them regularly. It's damaging to that relationship. So I have what I think is a very reasonable rule about hitting, and that for me, and that's that nobody's allowed to do that if I can stop them, right? I'm not going to let anybody get physical with me if I can do something to prevent it. I think it's a pretty reasonable standard. So it's not good for you if your child is hitting you. It's also really bad for your relationship. And I alluded to this a little bit before when I was telling you about my son and his hair pulling. But when he would pull my hair, it would make me not want to pick him up. So if he was going to pull my hair, I didn't want him anywhere close to my face. It actually caused some distance in our relationship until he stopped doing it. And that's true with anyone who is hitting you. Even if you adore your child, if when they get mad, they hurt you, you're not going to feel comfortable around them. You're not going to feel as good about them. And they are going to pick up on that. They're going to pick up on that discomfort or anger or resentment that you're feeling about them, even in those moments where they're not hitting you. So it's really damaging to your relationship to allow them to hit you. One of our primary responsibilities as parents is to do everything we can to have a positive relationship with our kids. And part of the way that we have positive relationships with people is by setting boundaries so that they can't do things that make it hard for us to be close to them. So making it hard for your child to hit you is good for your relationship. So you want to set a very clear boundary there. So it's bad for you. It's bad for your relationship. It's also really bad for your child to hit you. Why is it so bad for your child to hit you? Well, it's problematic in our general society. So one of our big cultural values is that physical aggression is not allowed, right? It's not tolerated. It's not tolerated at work. It's not tolerated at school. It's not tolerated with friends. It's not tolerated in romantic relationships. So you don't want to get your child thinking that hitting other people is an okay thing to do when they are angry. You want to really kind of nip that one in the bud. So if your child is aggressive with you, and then they're aggressive at school with their friends, and aggressive maybe with teachers, that's when kids start getting expelled from school. And then later on, it can lead to a lot of problems with holding down a job and relationships. And sometimes, physical aggression can cause legal problems. There's also a big difference between your adorable 2-year-old who hits you and your 12-year-old who is still hitting you. So things that are really cute when a child is little become really dangerous when a kid is older. Unfortunately, one of the reasons that I have often seen kids end up being psychiatrically hospitalized is for physical aggression. So they are so aggressive that their parents get scared and call the police, and they end up being hospitalized for that. So setting this boundary really early on with your kid about not hitting is also within their best interest so that they don't end up in those uncomfortable situations later on. You really want to do that clear limit setting. I'm not saying if your 2-year-old hits you, they will be hospitalized, but I'm saying that we don't want this behavior to continue. It's a top priority to get the physical aggression to stop. Also, kids are aware in our culture that we're not supposed to hit. Once they get older, right? Once they're in preschool, they know, that we're not supposed to hit our friends. And if they're hitting you at home, that's a really confusing message for them. They know that they're doing something that is not okay, and that's uncomfortable, and that can make kids have lower self-image. It can affect their self-esteem. So part of helping them not to hit us is also helping them to feel good about themselves. At this point, I hope you are deeply convinced that sitting there and allowing your child to hit you is bad for you and everybody involved, and you are committed in your heart to setting some limits around this. So how do we set some limits in a safe way if we're afraid to set limits? So let me tell you what to do. So let's say that your child gets angry with you for some reason and they hit you. What do? The first thing you're going to do is you're going to look them right in the eye and set a very clear message. You're going to say, no hitting, or we don't hit mommy, or we don't hit, that hurts. You're setting a very clear message. Hitting is not okay. Just like when my son would grab my hair and pull it, I would say, no pulling mommy's hair, that hurts. Sometimes people are afraid to say no. They've heard that you can't say no to kids, that that's a bad thing to do. I think that's completely fine to tell your kids no hitting. That's a great no boundary to have. And also you want to be super clear so that they're not confused. If you're really vague and you say something like gentle, 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 they're like, what are you talking about? But here's the problem, hitting. No hitting. Do you have to scream no hitting at your child? No. Do you have to say it in a scary voice? No. Do you have to say mean words with it? No, right? You can very safely, respectfully say no hitting. And sometimes that's the end of that. So sometimes you set that boundary, no hitting, and your child says, okay. And you say, okay, thank you for listening to me. Thank you for using your gentle hands. So you can set that boundary and then they respect it. And that's your best case scenario. They did something, you set a boundary, it's over, you move on. Sometimes, though, that doesn't stop the hitting all by itself. Sometimes then your child will go to hit you again. And this can be for a couple of reasons. Sometimes they're just still angry with you because you gave them Cheerios instead of goldfish. Or sometimes it's almost like a, what are you going to do about it sort of reaction. You say, no hitting, we don't hit. And they're like, well, what are you going to do if I do it? So then they go in for the second hit. If that happens, you keep them from hitting you. You take some gentle physical action to keep them from harming you. So that may be taking a step back so that they can't hit you. That might be gently pushing their hands away so that they can't hit you. When this happened with my son, when he pulled my hair and I said, we don't pull mommy's hair, and then he went to pull again, that was me gently taking his fingers off my hair and putting him down so that he was no longer able to pull my hair. And that's not what he wanted, right? He wanted to be close to me. He wanted to be in my arms near my face, and now he was on the floor. And that's because I needed that space so that he wasn't able to hurt me. So you can take that space for yourself. Don't allow your child to hit you again if you can see that that's what they're going for. Now, let's say that they are still interested in hitting you. Right now, this is the challenge. So now they're determined to hit you. They're like really in a mood about this. What you're going to do then is you're going to leave and give them some space. So that might be that you walk out of the room. That's okay to do. That's totally fine. Or let's say that you walk out of the room and they are trying to chase you down and hit you. Then it's okay to close the door. You can say to them, right now you're hitting me and that's not safe. When you're able to use your calm body, I am happy to be back in the room with you. This is not like child abandonment. It's not hurting a child. You're not doing anything mean if you physically prevent a child from hitting you. In fact, it's good boundary setting that we want them to use as well. Think about your child in school. If someone hits them, do you want them to just stand there and let people hit them? Absolutely not, right? You want them to say, it's not okay to hit me. You want them to set a boundary. You want them to get away from the person who's hitting them. And then in their case, you want them to go to the teacher, right? You want somebody to intervene. In your case, you're going to be the one intervening, and that's in a safe way. Also, if your child has now tried to hit you several times, I guarantee that you're pretty upset and you actually need a break from your child. You don't want to react in your upset feelings and end up saying something horrible or worst case scenario, hitting them back. which is very tempting when you're that worked up, right? If your adrenaline's really rushing and someone has just hit you, your natural response might be to hit them back. And that's not what you want to do, because then you're hitting, which I'm not a fan of as a discipline strategy. And also you are showing them that when you're mad, you hit. So you're hitting them for hitting you, which is not where you want to go. So you tell them no hitting, you prevent it. And if that doesn't work, you leave the room so it's really prevented. And then once they're calmer and they're not trying to hit you, again, they don't have to be calm. They just have to be not aggressive. Then you go back and you rejoin them. At that point, maybe you can just be near them and you can end up hugging them as they calm down. You can be available to them. Maybe you start playing with something and they come over and they start playing with you. This is not the time to have the big talk about hitting, because everyone's feelings are still too big about that. They probably can't have that discussion yet. But you create the space, you give yourself time to calm down so that you're not being aggressive or resentful or passive aggressive, like, oh, well, it's great to see you again now that you stopped hitting me, right? You want to be able to calm yourself down enough where you're not saying things like that. And then you're rejoining that play. So how are you feeling about this? It's just kind of step by step there. Yeah, for an older child, you can have consequences later on for that as well. But that's not really what we're talking about right now. We're talking about little kids sort of exploring the world. If you are in the extremely painful situation where we are well past this point, where your child is regularly hitting you, hurting you, you've had bruises, you're feeling afraid, this is the time to do something about it. And I recommend working with a very seasoned clinician who can teach you about parent management training. So how are you going to set those limits? How are you going to work on emotion regulation? You can do that at Thriving Child Center. You can do that at PCIT Experts if your kid is between 2 and 8, and we can help you there. It's not too late. We can definitely work on aggressive behavior, but it is okay for you to set those limits right now if it's happening in your house. Thanks again for being here on the podcast today. I hope this was helpful to you. Take very, very good care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks again for spending time with me on Educated Parent. If this episode helped you feel more confident in handling those parenting curveballs, hit follow so you never miss an episode. Know a parent who's stuck in the endless cycle of conflicting advice? Send this their way, because we all deserve parenting strategies we can actually trust. And hey, if you have a minute, leave a review. Your support helps other parents find real expert-backed solutions instead of just another opinion online. One last quick reminder, this podcast offers general advice, but every family is different. The advice offered in this podcast is not medical advice and is not appropriate for every family. If you need personalized parenting support, connect with an experienced clinician at Thriving Child Center or PCIT Experts. That's it for today. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you next time.